Putin gave Trump his position on Iranian nuclear, if not Iran in general, then Iranian nuclear program, which is of paramount importance to current Iranian leadership. Just look what is happening in Iran. Like they're losing everything domestically, in terms of foreign policy, Syria, Hezbollah, Hamas, everything is like going down. The only argument they have now is like their ability to quickly turn nuclear. And here Russia sides with America. Okay, maybe not completely yet. It's the first. We just know one line from press release, so we don't know a lot what is going on. But still, Russia makes a big step towards America. Russia insists that negotiations should be held. Well, this is exactly what Trump wants, while Rahbar Khamenei, he prohibited having negotiations. So Russia is siding with Iran. This is what Trump gets. So I wouldn't say this is little.
So if Donald Trump does succeed in splitting Russia and Iran, what could the long-term consequences of that be for Russia? Of course, Iran have been providing Shahed drones to Russia for use in Ukraine. It would be very significant if he were able to prise Russia and Iran away from each other. Do you really think that is what we're now seeing?
Well, we see certain movements in this direction. Uh, we don't know where they would end up. But if Putin manages to establish relations with long-term relations with Trump for the next 4 years, well, he would definitely win much more than just friendship with Iran. Okay, if America stops, see these sanctions, which are crippling Russian economy now, if it stops arms supplies to Ukraine, if it refuses to accept Ukraine into NATO, if it stops supporting Europe, which is the next object of attack for Russia, I mean, not necessarily military attack, I'm not sure about this, but it would be at least what they call this asymmetric warfare, all this sabotage and everything. So with Trump, he can gain much more. Without Trump, Iran wouldn't save his regime. His regime is now heading in the direction of, like, what happened 100 years ago in Russia between 1914, when the First World War started and Russia got involved in it, and 1917, the revolution and the overthrow of the regime. Now Russia is moving exactly in the same direction. So Trump is the only person who can, friendship with Trump, good relations with America is the only thing which can save Putin's regime now, strategically speaking. So it's nothing compared to Iran. Like, no, Iran is nothing compared to that.
So you really feel that Vladimir Putin's regime is in real danger of falling in the next few years?
Strategically, yes. I wouldn't say about the next few years, but maybe it's 2, 3 years, maybe 5, maybe 10. But still, it's doomed strategically because it's moving in the direction of which leads to collapse of our economy and growing discontent among general public. So as soon as Putin's repressive apparatus becomes a little weaker, like Russian tsars, they were ready to suppress revolutions in 1905, 1907, and several attempts before, but they failed in 1917. So strategically speaking, Putin, after he started the war, he made a big step in that direction, and he didn't know how to turn away from this road. So now with Trump, he has a chance of going off this road somewhere to another way.
So he thinks Trump could protect him in the long term.
Yes.
And in terms of who he is worried about internally in Russia, I've heard some people suggest that one of the reasons that Putin doesn't want to agree to a ceasefire at the moment in Ukraine is because he's worried that some ultra-nationalists will criticize that and will say you haven't completed your war aims, you're selling out the Russian veterans who are returning from fighting in Ukraine, and he's worried about some of those ultra nationalists around his regime. Do you think that's a threat to him?
Uh, it's some minor unpleasantness, I would say, but it's not a threat. All those ultranationalists, they are really weak. It's just their tradition. They are always near the authorities. They never go against the authorities. So Putin has enough of abilities to suppress them. And he did this when he killed Prigozhin or he put Strelkov Girkin to prison. So it's not so much about them. He just understands that in general he should be convincing for the general public, like because when the war is over and if there is no big achievement, big victory, like people would start asking, what is the like what was that? Why did we need it? What did we achieve? And there should be some clear and convincing answer. Why all these sacrifices? So it's necessary for general public for legitimacy because he has the problem with legitimacy. His legitimacy is declining in general, and he needs to convince people that it was not in vain, and he needs to convince his own entourage, he needs to convince elites in general. So it's not like some particular ultranationalists. They are by themselves not a problem. It's the general public and general elites.
Is it almost in Vladimir Putin's interest at this point to keep the war going in order to preserve his own position, in the same way that some people argue that Benjamin Netanyahu wants to keep the war in Gaza going because it solidifies his political base? If you are Vladimir Putin, is it in your interest to keep the war going?
You know, strategically, no, because the war is crippling his economy. For Israel, it's different. Israel economy is coping well. Uh, Russian Russian economy, no. And Russian public, they are not ready to withstand this war because Israeli public, they feel that they're on the defensive. For them, it's a just war. Russian public, they don't feel that they're on the defensive. They already feel that this is some like imperialist war, colonial war. Like this is like they approved of this war the first several months. In half a year after the burden of this war, after they started mass mobilization in September 22, it became obvious that this is like the burden is too heavy. And people started like asking themselves, why do we need this? That's why we have such huge repressions now. By the way, today I have a small jubilee, 2 years since Russian authorities put me on a wanted list. Thanks, Lord, I'm not in Russia, I'm in Israel. Sorry for the off top. So that's why they need this repressions be, for people to be afraid to ask these questions. So people is in a little different position than Netanyahu. He needs to end this war much more than Netanyahu needs to end his war. But he cannot afford ending it without certain achievements. That's why he is so desperate to offer Trump everything he can for Trump to press onto Ukraine and to allow him to get this certain prizes, trophies, which he would bring back to Russia, telling, hello, Russians, we won.
Thank you for watching Frontline for Times Radio with me, James Hansen. For more on the war in Ukraine and other global conflicts, you can subscribe or sign up for a membership for exclusive videos. And you can also get the latest news and analysis on Times Radio or from thetimes.com.